Okay, gotta make sure everyone can hear me and see the course website. All right, thanks. Okay, all right, the last section. Um, so kind of recapping this course, uh, you've pretty much built a web app, and again, this is um, the monolithic type of architecture. It is the simplest to learn, but it's not very modern. And in this monolithic web app, um, you use the Django framework and then deploy the application onto the internet using Heroku's hosting service. And so congratulations, you guys are all bona fide full stack developers because you went from the database to the back end to the front end. So you've pretty much touched the complete stack. Again, the architecture is outdated, but it is the simplest to learn, and that's why this architecture was chosen. Uh, so I guess now it's really just where do you want to go from here? And depending on what you like, there's a few possibilities. There's the front end, back end, and then DevOps is the kind of major forks or paths you can take. So um, if you actually like this kind of technology, the next step would be to kind of divide up the application to a front-end application and a separate back-end application. So if you heard of React or Vue, um, they're like an entire app running on your browser. Um, and it's basically JavaScript generating a whole bunch of HTML and doing everything, generating CSS. So it's like a full application running on your browser, and then it uses the backend. You can also use Django this way as just a REST API server. So all it does is just returns data for the front end to display. So your backend will not have any more templates, no more index.html files. All it will return is JSON, and it'll give it to the front end, and then the front end will display the data. So most modern web apps are structured this way. In fact, they divide it even more into microservices. But having it this way, having just one backend allows you to have different types of front ends. So you can have a web browser, a mobile app, and they can all be talking to the same backend using APIs. And we touched on this here. So this outer box is your entire Django app. You have your HTML files, and then you have your um, views.py and models.py. And what makes it, you know, with the monolith, you're kind of like mixing HTML with Python code. So the presentation is mixed with the data. So that's kind of why they want to move away from monolithic. So the first step is dividing it this way, where you have the front end, and then this will just solely be on your browser running JavaScript with Vue.js or React.js. And the backend will just really be a model and a view.py that returns JSON and no HTML. So strictly data. So that's the second generation where you make this divide here. And then the next one where they talk about microservices is when you start dividing it in this manner. So we had greetings and users, and if we start dividing it this way, then each of these will be its own separate services. So you can think of it as one Django application for each of them. But of course, that's Might not always be Django. There'll be other ways because Django's a little heavier. So that's kind of what we mean by front end, back end. Another way besides what we've talked in class. So um, when when you've been building this, if you just kind of notice what you like better, the graphics with the front end HTML stuff, the seeing things move with JavaScript and CSS. If you like that visualization, visual feedback, then I would say maybe look into more front end technologies and see if that continues to spark joy for you. Um, or if you like more of the data, the automation, the organizing things in databases and tables, then if that's kind of structuring organization um, kind of sparks joy for you, then maybe look into the back end. So again, the front end, the back end, and there's just tons of stuff you can go. Um, you know, you don't have to learn everything, but maybe, yeah, I don't even know everything, but in time, you'll probably Google it and read a wiki page and understand what it's supposed to do, and that's probably all you need to. That's as deep as a level as you need to go until you figure out where you want to actually dive into. Um, so front and back end, and then lastly, DevOps. Um, that's the next major area. So for DevOps, that's more of the Docker Compose and containers and the Heroku side. Um, you're really trying to take developer operations, right? That's what DevOps stands for. So stuff developers would need to do to deploy the application and update the application and make the application up and running for users and that kind of stuff. Not really the app code, but everything around it to get the app working and usable, accessible. That's kind of what DevOps do. And then containers is makes it easier. I know some people mentioned that there's not too many tutorials. There's a lot of tutorials on React and Django outside of containers, but not too many within containers. So containers is a little bit of a newer thing, so that's probably why there aren't so as many articles with examples in containers. But if you know containers, all those articles is an easy mapping because whether you're in containers or not, um, I mean whether it's containers or not, the article you can just take it and then just kind of like box it within a container, and they all should work relatively the same. So it's almost transparent once you kind of understand how containers work. Um, so that's kind of DevOps, more of the um, so have you heard of CI/CD? Continuous integration, continuous deployment. So that's like every change you make, you run tests, you run quality assurance, make sure it doesn't break the app, code coverage, linters, just all these checks you want to do, security checks prior to deploying it. Make sure it passes each security gate, nothing breaks. So continuously integrate checks and then continuously deploy it to your users. So that's in line with DevOps. So kind of what Heroku provides, once you push your container, Heroku kind of like does the continuous deployment for you. Um, though really it should be when you push to GitHub, GitHub will then push it to Heroku instead of you. So, and then Heroku takes it and continuously deploys it. So there is way more, but you kind of just dabbled a little bit with it. And then another thing with DevOps, If you like infrastructure, the cloud, architecture, just kind of a high level overview of the entire system. If you like think of everything in boxes, um, yeah, if you're more of a big picture thinker as opposed to the little nitty-gritty details of the code, then that might be interesting to you. So those are kind of the three general paths that I know of that you can go, um, or that is an easy jump from here, front end, back end, and DevOps. But with stuff you've learned like Python and uh, visualization, like you can also go into data science, like data visualization, and then that could be another path. But these are more closely related to what we've done. Though if you know Python, you know programming, and you kind of have an idea of how data works, or then you can also make the jump to like machine learning, artificial intelligence, and data science. Okay, so let's see. So it's really hard to know which one, or even it's easier to know what you don't like, I think. So if you've touched some of this, maybe you're like, oh, I don't even like web development, then that's cool. At least you know what you should try something else. If there's any of these that you don't like, if you didn't like containers, it's like then you know then you can give one of these two a try, the front end or the back end, um, a little bit more um, dabble a little bit more in it to see if you would like it, or like you find some eventually find something that you don't like. And so initially I thought the front end was really cool, but after a while I got really tired of like making everything pixel perfect. Like if it's a wide screen, small screen, mobile screen, that was a little too tedious for me. And at some point, I really didn't care which shade of blue it was. So that's kind of how, yeah, at first I was attracted to web because it was so easy to make things on a web page. And then I got deterred from it because it was just too tedious to be pixel perfect. So um, yeah, you can, it's a two-way store. If you're a two-way door, you can always go backwards. So please try to listen to what sparks joy. If you find it, I think it's really cool to have found that thing, right? I don't know if you know the term spark joy, but it's from Marie Kondo, or Kondo. And so there's a video if you want to watch that. And for her, I guess cleaning sparks joy, or making things organized. So for you is what you like working with. And you know, I think it's kind of nice. Um, so I think it's one of those things. So like borrowing a quote from uh, I, I forgot what the exact quote is from Love and Marriage. Like it is the one most important decision, like what you choose to work on. But it should also be the easiest. So if you find it or you haven't found it, then I hope you find it, and hope you keep looking for it until you find it. And then with that, I just want to leave you with this graduation speech by Steve Jobs to the Stanford graduating class. So I'm not going to play the whole thing. I'll leave it for you. That's something that resonated with me, and I hope that um, you find what you like doing, kind of like how Steve Jobs found what he wanted to do. And then, yeah, so I guess I had, like most of you took an EE160, and so I've had bumped into programming, but I guess I did not listen to how it sparked joy. I thought it was just because I thought it was too easy because I guess like my brain is wired for it, so it just came naturally. And I thought it was too easy, and I thought everyone thought the same way. But in actuality, it's just because I guess I was kind of built for programming. I think like a computer. Um, but I didn't listen to that, or I didn't know that that's what I was feeling, and so I didn't go into programming. But luckily, um, years later, I was able to kind of drop like it just kind of fell back into it. But if it hadn't, I think you know I might be way more miserable. Um, so I hope that you don't make the same mistake that I did, and then I hope these words and Steve Jobs' message will help you you know find it and keep searching for it until you find it. So okay, so thank you. Um, I'm gonna end the video here and see if you guys have any questions or discussions.